Hola y bienvenidos a la cocina del Remedy, donde yo tengo lo que sé que necesitas. Es el chico Lolo con otro video y yo sé que estás pensando, yo no sabía que él habla español. Por supuesto yo hablo español. Yo tengo muchas sorpresas. No soy fluido en español, pero yo siento como yo soy competente porque yo hablo suficiente. Por favor, sabe que no soy fluido en español cuando hablas conmigo en español. Este video es para conmemorar el mes de gerencia hispana. Yo vivo en los Estados Unidos donde tantas culturas diferentes componen esta gran tierra. Y yo siento como los Estados Unidos no serían los Estados Unidos sin los hispanos. Entonces, este video está dedicado a mi preciosa gente hispanos. Vamos a hablar de lo que vamos a cocinar. Me encantan mariscos y me encanta comida frita. Entonces yo puse los dos juntos. Vamos a hacer
empanadas de camarones.
Anyways, sin más preámbulos, vamos a empezar. All right, let's get started on the dough. I got my pan right here. It's not turned on yet. I got some whole milk, some flour and salt, and some butter. We're gonna start first by putting our milk into the pan, followed by our butter. And we're gonna bring this to like a steam, like a simmer. We're not gonna boil this, okay? And once that becomes hot, we're gonna put our flour in there and start cooking our dough. This is the same concept as when you make churros, although this is not the same exact ingredients and process, but it's the same concept of adding our dough to the pan and cooking it just like this. We're gonna cook this for a few minutes, just until it starts to come together into a ball, like it's starting to do right now. All right, once we get it off the stove, we're gonna take it out, form it into one big ball, make sure it's nice and together, and we're gonna divide it just so we can make it more manageable, like such. And press it into a ball again. And we're gonna cover these with a towel and just let them cool down and not dry out. Just like that. All right, let's multitask here, people. We're making the creamy tomatillo salsa to dip our empanadas in. We got some tomatillos, some garlic, some onions, some serranos. We're gonna start by oiling these bad boys up to get them nice and coated for the charring. Mix them bad boys up and then go on with a little bit of salt just to kind of start that seasoning process. We're gonna mix them up and bake them at 450 degrees until they start to char and blister. And while that's going, we're gonna start our shrimp. All right, I got some beautiful Gulf shrimp. What I'm gonna do basically is poach these hoes inside the water until they turn nice and bright pink and cook. I do not want to overcook these, so I'm gonna cook them very, very, very gently. After they finish cooking, go ahead and remove those from the pot and deshell them. We're gonna use those shells and let that shrimp cool off. All right, so save your shells and we're gonna use that right now. Back into the water, we're gonna make a makeshift shrimp stock, okay? So simmer that, do not boil it at a high rolling boil, just simmer it for about 15 minutes and let that shrimp flavor extract. And then you're gonna strain that into a cup to get all the shell pieces out of there. And we're gonna use that again to make our sauce for our empanada filling later. All right, so get your vegetables into a blender and season with a little bit of comino, un poquito de pimienta negra, sal y jugo de lima con cilantro. Put that into the blender, mix it up real good so it's nice and smooth. Season it, taste it, Then we're gonna cool that down so we can add more ingredients to it later. Let's get started on our filling. I got some green onion, some white onion, and some garlic. I have my makeshift shrimp stock and my shrimp that I cut up earlier, and some flour, some pepper, some seasonings, all the good stuff. I got my butter into my pan, and I put that onto like a medium high and let it start melting. Once that gets nice and melted, I'm gonna go on with my green onion and my white onion. Basically, I'm gonna start cooking these down till they get nice and soft, but we're gonna take it a step further and let them get nice and brown as well. I got my heat kind of like on a medium high, just so my butter won't burn. And I'm gonna take this kind of slow. So I'll cook these for about 7-8 minutes, just until they get nice and brown, like such. This is the color that we want. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding my garlic to it, just because I don't want my garlic to burn and I want everything else to get kind of cooked, because the garlic just needs to be cooked until it's fragrant. So go ahead and add that garlic in there at this point, and we're gonna cook that down just a tad bit, and we're gonna go in with some flour and start cooking that into our vegetables. like I said in one of my videos before, this is called the Sanjay method, where you cook your flour inside of your fat and your vegetables. And you're gonna start cooking this until it starts to smell kind of like popcorn. Basically, what you're doing right now is cooking the rawness out of the flour with that oil. That oil is cooking that flour for you. That way you don't have like that raw, chalky, floury, lumpy taste inside of there. Once that gets nice and golden brown after a couple of minutes, go ahead and whisk in your shrimp stock and make sure you scrape all the bits off the bottom, get all that flavor up, okay? You're gonna whisk that together and make sure it's nice and incorporated and let that simmer for a few minutes. And it can actually come to a boil and then turn it down to simmer. But make sure you season it, taste it, all that kind of stuff. Go in with some salt and some pepper. Then immediately, once you get that filling sauce where you want it to be seasoning wise, go in with your chopped shrimp and mix that all together. And what I would do after that is taste it again to see if it needs more salt, because we didn't season the shrimp earlier. We just poached it. So it's pretty bland right now. So it might bring your seasoning down. See, I'm going with a little bit of salt. I tasted it. It needs a little bit of salt, a little bit more pepper, all that kind of stuff. So just taste it to your liking, what you like. Something that I didn't show that I added was this peri-peri sauce. This stuff right here is good for marinating. It's good as a dipping sauce. I definitely added a couple tablespoons of this to my mixture, but I don't know where that footage went, but y'all, this brightens it up, it spices it up, it's so flavorful and delicious. I totally think you should invest, and that's on peri. So put your filling aside, let that cool, and we're gonna finish our dipping sauce. So I let my green salsa go ahead and cool down on the fridge for a few minutes, and I went ahead and added some sour cream right now. Blended it up till it's nice and creamy and smooth, tasted it for seasoning, add a little bit more salt, pepper, whatever it may need, and put that aside. Here comes the fun part though. We're gonna start finally rolling out our empanada dough. So anytime you're rolling out dough, make sure you have a well-floured surface. Now I got my dough, which is cooled down from underneath my towel, and I'm pressing it down just so I can get it a little bit more manageable. And I did cut these into smaller circles just so they can be a little bit more manageable. And y'all, please don't be like me. I'm using a wine bottle because I have to, not because I want to. The rolling pin that I did have was not a good one. So what I recommend is y'all get the ones without the handles, because that'll really help you get a wider, more evenly spread out thing. So I'm using my wine bottle to kind of spread this out. It's not gonna be a perfect circle. It's gonna be very kind of like Africa shape / oblong. So get it nice and even. You want to get kind of like a 1/8 of an inch kind of thing. You don't want this to be too thick, okay? So roll it out to like 1/8 of an inch, and we're gonna use a circle cutter to cut out our circles. Now me, I don't have a proper biscuit or empanada cut or whatever, so I'm using this little food processor right here. So this is like 3.5 inches. These are gonna be some pretty hefty empanadas low key, so go ahead and cut your circles out. I'm gonna get like 3 out of this, because these are pretty big. So cut out your circles, and we're gonna get started on the filling of these. Now, most empanadas are smaller and they use about a teaspoon of filling. But since these are like 3.5 inches, I'm using a tablespoon per empanada. So what I like to do is group my processes. I like to roll them all out and then put filling in all of them. And now I'm gonna start crimping and folding. So fold it over just like such. And what I'm gonna do basically is just press the two sides together all around just like that. And I'm gonna show you the process entirely. So press it down just like that. Make sure you don't have any air pockets, because you don't want these hoes to blow up in the fire. And we're gonna do the same thing for the other one. So fold it over, and I'm kind of gonna give you a closer look. I'm just pressing these two sides together. One was on the table and one is in the air. You can do it either way, just like that. And something I'm gonna do now is kind of give you like that traditional fold over for the empanadas. I'm kind of folding the dough on itself. It's not gonna look as pretty and professional as somebody who's authentically doing it, because I'm black or whatever. But yes, fold it over just like such, right on itself. I'm trying to make it look nice and cute because it's a very tender dough, and I tried to do a little fork thing to make it have the little lines, but that was kind of ripping my dough apart. So just fold it over just like that, and that's exactly how it looks. So now let's get to the fun part, frying. All right, so I got my oil set to like 375 in my little deep fryer that I stole from my mama, and she not getting it back, aha. But fry these for a couple minutes. These are gonna go like 3 or 4 minutes, just so they're nice and golden brown. And the good thing about these is you can make them ahead of time and keep them frozen in like an airtight container / bag. I put them in like a Ziploc bag, but these freeze for like 3 months or longer. Just make sure you keep them nice and sealed. And look at these bad boys. These look so good. Get into the presentation. Get into it. Come on, clamshell. Come on, creamy tomatillo salsa with the cilantro leaf. Get into the presentation. Get into it. But hold on, let me get you a little close up because you ain't even seen the full extent. Get into it. Get that close up real quick. Do you see the texture on this thing? Do you see the color? Do you see the golden brownness of it? Aha! Yeah, let's get into this thing real quick. Okay, so my empanadas are out of the fryer. My salsa is done. I'm starving. Let's dig into this without any further ado. So, first of all, you hear that crunch? Yes. The crispness, like, there's no cheese in here, but it's like, it's creamy, like, The flavor, the texture is perfect. It's perfect. And of course it's perfect, I made it. Lo hice en español. Now let's try with the sauce, which is very spicy and cilantro-y and zesty. It's just really good.
What's a combo? Wow.
Y'all have to try this recipe. I'll make sure to put that below. All the measurements, all the ingredients, all that kind of stuff. I just want to say thank you to everybody who watched the video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here. Also, like, leave me a comment if you like. One last thing is happy Hispanic Heritage Month. I know I'm pretty late because Hispanic Heritage Month ends on the 15th of October, but I'm still here. I'm still celebrating. And I want to give a special shout out to all my Hispanic people out there.
This is your time to shine.
Nah, but I feel like this country, one of the backbones of this country is Hispanic people, you know? Like, America's such a melting pot, and I feel like it really wouldn't be America without Hispanic people, you know? I feel like we all come together as one to make America, and like, I really love that about America. That's one thing I like about America, but shout out to Hispanic people. This is your time. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Hasta luego.
Pulled up in a big black Mack truck. Y'all niggas better get y'all racks up. Coming for these necks like Dracula. The way I flip throw niggas call me spatula. Best foot forward, never look back at ya. Fresh Prince, but I'm living like the bachelor. I ain't feasting and I won't fast with ya. Don't cross me, better not chance it, bro. Need more than a band to patch it up. Got a bad bitch sitting in the passenger.